Venezuela's special voter registration process began this Monday as the country prepares for parliamentary elections in December. The World Health Organization warned on Monday that there would be no return to normality anytime soon, as too many countries are mishandling their response to the coronavirus pandemic. Ivory Coast Vice President Daniel Cablan Duncan stepped down this Monday. From the headquarters of Teleso English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. We begin in Venezuela, where the special voter registration process began this Monday to guarantee the maximum citizen participation in the parliamentary elections to be held on December 6. The process will be extended until July 26, while 551 registration points have been activated across the country under strict health measures due to the COVID-19 pandemic. During the next 2 weeks, Venezuelan voters will be able to register or update their personal information, such as changing their address and polling station. More than 1,100 electoral agents will be on hand to assist voters between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. every day. Colombia is facing a critical situation due to the rapid spread of the novel coronavirus. The increase in COVID-19 cases places Colombia as the fourth most affected country in South America, reporting more than 150,000 cases and over 5,000 fatalities. The spread of the virus in the country coincides with the economic reopening plan promoted by the national government. Meanwhile, health workers denounced their lack of supplies to treat patients, while the demand for intensive care units continues to grow and hospitals are overcrowded. Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, Cuba is manufacturing ventilators, which are essential for the treatment of critically ill COVID-19 patients. The locally produced medical equipment, aside from providing assisted ventilation, includes oxygen measurement capability and applications with offline support. The ventilators are being developed at Havana's Neuroscience Center with funding from the European Union and the NGO Medicuba Switzerland, among others. The ventilators are expected to be ready by October. At the beginning of the pandemic, the Cuban government attempted to purchase several ventilators, but was unable to do so due to the criminal United States blockade against the island. On July 18th and 19th, the Concert for Cuba from Chicago's Hot House will unite artists online against the US blockade. The Stardust-studded event will condemn the economic, commercial and financial blockade imposed on Cuba by the United States for almost 6 decades. Musicians Dionne Warwick, Michael McDonald, John Cleary and many others will feature. The online concert will also see performances by Cuban stars such as La Orquesta Aragon, Alexander Abreu, Los Bambán, Omar Portuondo, among others. The event also supports the nomination of Cuba's Henry Reeve International Medical Contingent for the Nobel Peace Prize for its contributions to the fight against the novel coronavirus pandemic. The number of COVID-19 cases in Latin America and the Caribbean has increased significantly. According to the World Health Organization, Latin America registered over 650,000 new cases of the coronavirus and 23,000 new deaths in the beginning of July. In total, the region has so far reported 3 million cases and almost 140,000 deaths, with Brazil being the worst hit, followed by Peru and Chile. Meanwhile, Colombia and Argentina have recorded the highest daily figures of positive cases in the past week. The government of Antigua and Barbuda has moved one step closer to making the island of Barbuda an island fully powered by solar energy. Prime Minister Gaston Brown explained that the move stems from an agreement negotiated in 2017 after Barbuda was decimated by Hurricane Irma.
Decided to make these funds available towards the green energy project for Barbuda. So the plan is to literally transform Barbuda into a green island, to make it perhaps the first green island or first island to be powered exclusively by green energy within the Caribbean.
And we're taking a very short break now, so don't go away.
Telesur English presents a weekly program to discuss the political, economic and social issues affecting the Caribbean community. We'll challenge stereotypes and unpack the diversity of the region through the analysis of unique cultures, religions and art. We Caribbean. Wednesdays, only on Telesur. Follow our latest updates concerning the novel coronavirus by checking our special content in our website, where you will be able to get the most reliable details and numbers for each continent, available from your mobile device or desktop. Telesur, connecting the Global South.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.
Thursdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back to From the South. The World Health Organization warned on Monday that there would be no return to normality anytime soon, as too many countries were mishandling their response to the coronavirus pandemic. After a daily record of over 230,000 new coronavirus cases were reported on Sunday, the WHO said the pandemic was only going to get worse unless people stuck to the basics of physical distancing, hand washing and wearing masks. The WHO Director General warned that countries that were easing their way out of lockdowns were now witnessing a resurgence of the virus because they were not following proven methods to reduce the risks. He stressed that too many countries were headed in the wrong direction.
Yesterday, 230,000 cases of COVID-19 were reported to WHO. Almost 80% of those cases were reported from just 10 countries, and 50% come from just 2 countries. Although the number of daily deaths remains relatively stable, there is a lot to be concerned about. All countries are at risk of the virus, as you know. I want to be straight with you. There will be no return to the old normal for the foreseeable future. I repeat, there will be no return to the old normal for the foreseeable future. But there is a roadmap to a situation where we can control the disease and get on with our lives.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel noted it is unclear whether EU leaders will reach an agreement on a €750 billion pandemic recovery fund during this week's summit, amid resistance from some member states.
We will discuss on Friday how we can reach a common agreement. We still have different positions. I cannot say whether we will reach an agreement on Friday, but it will in any case be good for Europe. The task is immense, and so the answer must be great, and it is not possible to commit to all the details in advance, but a special effort is needed that makes it clear that Europe wants to stick together in these difficult times. This has a political dimension.
China announced sanctions against 3 senior US Republican lawmakers on Monday in response to similar sanctions imposed against Chinese officials by the United States government. The sanctions were imposed on Senators Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, along with Congressman Chris Smith, and were announced just days after the US imposed visa bans and asset freezes on several Chinese officials, including the Communist Party chief in Xinjiang, Chen Chang-gu. The move is the latest in the building of tensions between the two countries.
In response to the U.S. wrong actions, China has decided to, from this day, apply corresponding sanctions to the U.S. Congressional Executive Commission on China. U.S. State Department Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom, Sam Brownback, Senator Marco Rubio, Senator Ted Cruz, and Representative Chris Smith. We urge the U.S. to immediately withdraw its wrong decision and stop any words and actions that interfere in China's internal affairs and harm China's interests. China will make a further response depending on the development of the situation. The U.S. boasts of its strong values, but why it is so afraid of a social media liked by young people for easily sharing entertainment videos? Why is a strong United States so fragile? I think this is a question worth pondering over. I hope Navarro and his colleagues, as well as the officials of the United States, should seriously consider.
I return to the United States now, where the presidential race continues, with the latest poll confirming that Democratic candidate Joe Biden is about 5 points ahead of President Donald Trump in the southern state of Texas. According to a poll conducted by local media and the University of Texas, Biden would get 46% of the state's vote, while Trump would secure 41%, while 14% of voters have yet to decide whom to vote for. Texas represents one of the electoral strongholds of the current president, and no Democrat has managed to win the state since Jimmy Carter. The presidential elections will be held in November this year. And the United States on Sunday reported over 62,000 new COVID-19 cases, according to Johns Hopkins University. The total number of confirmed cases now stands at over 3.4 million. Meanwhile, the death toll has risen to almost 138,000. Russia's Forest Service reported there were nearly 300 wildfires blazing across the country's vast northern wilderness on Saturday, as it attempted to contain them with methods including explosives and cloud seeding. Warm weather across large swathes of Siberia since January, combined with low soil moisture, have contributed to a resurgence of wildfires that devastated the region last summer. Russia's Aerial Forest Protection Service reported it was trying to control over 130 fires across more than 43,000 hectares on Saturday. Meanwhile, Russia's Weather Service noted that in the Arctic, where the sun doesn't set in the summer, sunlight is heating the Earth's surface around the clock, increasing the risk of wildfires. In Spain, around 1,000 resident doctors demonstrated on the first day of an indefinite strike to demand improvements to their working conditions. Over 4,600 resident doctors in Madrid are called to take part in this indefinite strike action to demand a collective agreement to improve their working conditions, including an end to 24-hour shifts, salary increases, a maximum of 4 residents for each attending physician, and fully conditioned resting places. On Monday morning, the Italian Coast Guard rescued 17 migrants, 6 of whom had already fallen into the water in the island of Lampedusa. According to Interior Ministry data, Italy is facing a surge in migrants, with arrivals almost 1/3 higher so far this year than last. Ministry figures show that over 9,000 migrants have reached Italy so far this year. Most of them are Tunisian, followed by those from Bangladesh, Ivory Coast, Algeria and Sudan. The recent arrivals have sparked protests by locals in some areas after a few dozen migrants tested positive for COVID-19 after disembarking. The president of the self-proclaimed Republic of Kosovo, Hashim Tachi, arrived on Monday for questioning by war crime prosecutors in The Hague. Tachi was indicted by a special tribunal in late June for war crimes and crimes against humanity, investigating the 1998 to 1999 conflict with Serbia that won the province its independence. Tachi and others are charged with being criminally responsible for nearly 100 murders, in addition to other crimes against Serb, Roma and Kosovo Albanian victims while he was leader of the rebel Kosovo Liberation Army. The Serbian province self-declared its independence in 2008, however the declaration was declared unconstitutional by Serbia and many other countries of the world. The United Arab Emirates is preparing to send a probe to Mars in another major milestone. The country wants to be the first Arab nation to join the United States, India, the former Soviet Union and the European Space Agency, all of whom have successfully sent missions to orbit the Red Planet. The UAE has already built a nuclear power program and sent a man to space. Meanwhile, China is preparing to launch its first rover later this month. Authorities in India reported that more than 1 million people were affected by flooding in the northeast of the country, where the death toll over the past week has risen to 13. The country was first hit in mid-May when pre-monsoon rains arrived, causing floods that killed 11 people, while another 20 died in landslides caused by days of incessant downpours. According to official figures, almost 29,000 people, mostly in rural regions, have been evacuated for their homes and taken to relief camps. Flooding is an annual phenomenon in India's northeast, claiming hundreds of lives each year.
We have two challenges here. One is COVID-19 and another is flood. Still, our personnel are working here day and night to save lives. In our recent operations, we have rescued 236 people and safely took them to relief camps.
We have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Ivory Coast Vice President Daniel Kablan Duncan stepped down this Monday. The announcement came just days after the sudden death of Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly on July 8th. According to a statement read by Chief of Staff Patrick Achi, the Vice President handed in his resignation to the President, citing personal reasons on February 27th, and after several conversations, the President accepted it. A veteran figure of Ivorian politics, Duncan served as Foreign Minister from 2011 to 2012, and then as Prime Minister in charge of Economy and Finance from 2012 to 2017. In January 2017, he became the first Vice President in Ivory Coast's history, taking up a post created under a new constitution adopted in 2016. The first Kenyan doctor to die from COVID-19 was buried this Monday. Health officials wearing personal protective equipment accompanied the body of Dr. Doreen Adisa Lugaliki, whose funeral was attended by just a few relatives. Dr. Lugaliki was 38 years old and died on Friday, 4 days after being admitted to hospital. She leaves behind twin daughters. According to Kenya's health ministry, nearly 200 people have died of COVID-19 in the country, while the number of confirmed cases has now surpassed 10,000.
So it was hard for us. Just on Monday, we took her to hospital, and Wednesday, she's in ICU. Friday morning, she's dead. To us, we never expected that because we knew we'll go with her to hospital and come back home so that we can take care of her and go on with life. For my sister, she had diabetes. Doctors call it DKA, and that is what killed her. So please, the people should avoid this stigmatization. It feels so bad when somebody looks at you like he wants to run away from you and think maybe you can infect them.
Morocco on Monday announced a return to lockdown measures in the northern port city of Tangier in the face of a new outbreak of the novel coronavirus weeks after easing nationwide restrictions. The city of about 1 million inhabitants was locked down at noon local time, with public transport suspended, cafes and public spaces closed and movement restricted. Residents are only allowed to leave their homes in cases of extreme necessity. The Interior Ministry said that exceptional authorization from local authorities would be required for movement within or beyond the city. Morocco, with a population of 34 million, has recorded almost 16,000 cases and 255 deaths. Winnie Mandela, daughter of South African hero Nelson Mandela and anti-apartheid activist and politician Winnie Mandela, has passed away. According to a local broadcaster, Winnie, who was serving as South Africa's ambassador to Denmark since 2015, died in a hospital in Johannesburg on Sunday evening. The Mandela Legacy Foundation, speaking on behalf of the family, announced that memorial and funeral arrangements for Winnie would be announced in the course of the week. President Cyril Ramaphosa expressed condolences on her passing, which came just days before the anniversary of Nelson Mandela's birth, and said she brought home the unshakable resolve of our fight for freedom.
Well, it's obviously in honor of my father and the legacy and the sacrifice that he made for humanity. He gave up 67 years of his life. He's asked us to only give up 67 minutes on his birthday. But obviously our hope and our intention is that one day there should be like a global movement for change where we make every day a Mandela Day.
And South African citizens have expressed support for President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to suspend alcohol sales again as coronavirus infections spike and the health system risks being overwhelmed.
I think the alcohol ban is a good idea. The reason is people are reckless, there is more deaths on the road, people are misbehaving, people are drunk and they're not staying at home.
Okay, I think it's a good thing because a lot of people are suffering from the coronavirus situation, the pandemic. So what he said, Mr. Ramaphosa said yesterday, I think it's a good thing because it will decrease the infection.
Prime Minister of the Libyan Government of National Accord, Fayez Sarraj, on Sunday held talks with military commanders to discuss the situation in the country and possible military operations. According to a statement issued by the PM's office, the talks focused on reviewing measures to secure the liberated areas with the possibility of operations in Sirte and Jufra. The meeting also studied a reorganisation of the military institution and enhancing the defence capabilities of the Libyan army. In March, the UN-recognised Government of National Accord launched Operation Peace Storm against Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar, commander of the eastern-based Libyan National Army, to counter his attacks on the capital Tripoli that began in April 2019. Following the death of 4 people in protests on Friday, anti-government leader Mahmoud Dicko has urged his supporters to refrain from violence and demonstrate peacefully.
This movement that we have set in motion, I truly believe, is the beginning of a hope that must remain and that must continue, but with dignity, with calm, with respect for others.
And we've come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For Telesu English, I'm Katrina Goss and thank you for watching.